Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Buddhist Temple of San Diego's Dharma Family Service, which will be chaired by me, Paulina,
Aya,
Cassidy,
Julie,
Greg.
We are the 9th through 12th grade class. The officiant is our Reverend Hokai Smitty Smith, and our certified minister's assistants are Arturo, Rubio, Noriko Kauai. Today's service is Shotsuki Hoyo service, where we will remember our loved ones with gratitude. You may come up to offer incense after Reverend Smitty calls their names. We will first start with the service with fruit and floral offerings by the Dharma School 3rd through 4th grade class, followed by silent meditation by Reverend Smitty, then followed by reading of Shotsuki Hoyo names. Fruit and floral by pre-K through 2nd grade.
Gasho. If one walks looking far ahead and pays no attention to the ground beneath their eyes, they will stumble. If one gazes critically upon others and forgets to look into themselves, they will bring tragedy upon themselves. Renyo Shonin. Namanda, 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 namanda. As I read the names of family and friends who have passed away in the month of February, I ask that you please come up to offer incense in gratitude to them and out of their memory. Clarence Hasayama, Minako Nakano, Nobuko Amano, Miyako Kinoshita, Ruby Yoshida, Hatsumi Oto, Michael Mitsuo Doi, George Yamamoto. Hideko Okada Smith. Mariko Tanazaki. Mary Matsumoto. Fumie Yamashita. Mary Grijalva Martinez. Rose Watamura. Yoshinobu Wakabayashi. Ronald Nishinaga. Toshiharu Glenn Yonekura. Tsuneo Niwa. Doris Miyoshira. Suzy Shizuko Yamada. Shigeru Moriyama. Patsy Harue Yanagihara. Editorio. Joseph Shiraishi. Fred Hashiguchi. Masami Honda. Carol Inoue. Shie Hagio. Satoshi Jack Takagi. Mary Hoshizaki. Fumiko Momita. Iwao Yagura. Otomatsu Yoshihara. Koyoshi Nakamura. Yajuro Nemoto. Mary Sugimoto. James Nicholas Link. George Hoshizaki. Misao Tsugiyama. Eda Asaman. Sada Samashima. Miki Moriyama. Shima Fudo. Yuki Masumoto. Masano Hirata. Megumi Torimaru. Fumiko Yoshihara. Fred Yamaguchi. Masanori Koba. Suma Shimada. Tome Yamashita. Tome Morimoto. Natsue Shinohara. Yaeno Amano. Yujiro Nakano. Dan Sadao Takeshita. Sada Tsuneyoshi. Sada Takaguchi. Takasugi. Hatsue Kimura. Mine Iwataki. Kotaro Shimizu. Ichigoro Imai. Yukino Kodama. Naminosuke Date. Toyo Furusho. Ekichi Ishisaki. Michi Hanano. Same Odawara. Hatsue Kimura. Rina Yanagihara. Naminosuke Tachiki. Unshiro Takashima. Kisoyemon Sato. Again, you're welcome to come up and burn incense in memory and honor of your friends or loved ones who passed away in February, whether I read their name this morning or not.
We will now have sutra chanting of Jusei Ge on page 35 of the Blue Service Book, led by Reverend Smitty.
Agon Chosegan Ishimu Jodo Shigan Fumanzok Sefujo Shogak Ga Omuryoko Fuidai Seshu Fusai Shobingu Sefujo Shogak Gashi Jobundo No Shocho Jipo Kukyo Mishomon Sefujo Shogak Ryokujin Shonen 上映主凡行しぐむ浄土一生天人師人力現代公不傷無才道少女三苦名交際集約難回避知恵言滅死根毛案閉塞小悪道通達全宗門高僧上満蔵異様実法日願主重記天候音符言一種解放像公正苦毒法上欧大集中説法四子苦供養一切仏具足修徳本願永心上満徳一三界王女仏無下地通達未不詳願学エリ投資最小尊志願や国家大戦を感動国書天人と珍妙形ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブガニシクドクヨロセイサイドホンボダイシンおじょアンラコYasho Namanda 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 Namanda
Please stand for our pledge, which is in the blue service book as an insert. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. You may be seated. Today, the Dharma School message will be presented by Reverend Smitty.
Morning. Please join me in Gasho. In the land of perfect bliss, there are always many kinds of wondrously rare and beautiful birds of various colors, such as white swans, peacocks, parrots, mynas, kalavinkas, and jivamjivakas. 6 times a day, all these birds melodiously sing in elegant harmony, their sounds proclaiming the teachings. And when the people of that land hear those birds singing, they become mindful of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda. Well, again, good morning. It's good to see everybody here today. How's everybody doing with finding your path this Dharma school year? Good, that's a thumbs up. We've got some finding their paths, maybe some others still searching for your path. Maybe a few still not sure what we mean by a path. It happens. It's okay if you're still trying to figure out your path. I'm still working on mine too, so it's all right to continue to work on it, to learn about it this year and continue to work on it throughout your life. You know, signs and symbols might be some things that help us to find or stay on our path. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what a sign is. Like a stop sign or a for sale sign or a sign on a grocery store that lets you know if it's Whole Foods or Ralph's or Vons or Trader Joe's. Or maybe the Disneyland Drive exit sign on I-5. How about a symbol? What's that? Can anybody tell me what a symbol is? Oh, come on, I know we have a lot of smart students here. Okay, sure. Exactly. That's practically the dictionary definition right there. So, yeah. A symbol is something that stands for or represents something else. You know, sometimes a sign can also be a symbol. For example, I often drive west on Montezuma Road. I know a lot of you do too, especially those of you in the 3 and 4 class. Always driving there, aren't you? Okay, maybe in a few years. But, you know, I did that on my way to get on the 15 like I did this morning coming to Temple. And after passing 54th Street and the Hardy Elementary School, there's a speed limit sign on the right-hand side of the road that says 45 miles an hour. But when I see that sign, I don't just see a sign that tells me that that's the speed limit required on that road, or the maximum speed for that road. I see it as a symbol that marks a big dip that's in the road. And it reminds me to slow down to about 30 miles an hour or my SUV is going to get launched up in the air and my head might hit the overhead in the car. So if I drive too fast, that's going to happen with that dip. So to me, that 45-mile-an-hour sign displays not only the actual speed limit as a sign, but it's a symbol of the dip in the road that reminds me that it's there and I need to drive carefully and cautiously over that. Okay, but I didn't want to talk about signs and symbols along roads today. I'd like to talk about some symbols or signs that we have here in the Hondo, because they might help us a little bit along our path. Have you ever sat here bored, maybe during sutra chanting, especially if we chant Shoshinge, something really long like that, or there's a real snoozer of a Dharma talk going on, and you just started to look around the Hondo? I would say me too, but that's not true because I really like to chant. But anyways, if you ever looked up to the Onaijin, maybe you've tried to figure out what some of this stuff up here is. You know, the Onaijin itself as a whole is supposed to be a symbol that is meant to represent the Pure Land. So of course it would be filled with the same items that are described in the sutras that tell us about the Pure Land. And in the smaller Amida Sutra, or Amida Kyo, Shakyamuni Buddha describes 6 different birds that are found in the Pure Land. So if you look closely, you might see the birds are carved into the Mayajoku, or the large front altar table that's in the Onaijin. Have to get kind of close, so maybe one of these days you'll have a chance to come up on this stage area and get a better look at these birds. But we also have some paintings of birds that are depicted on the walls and in the carvings up above. So the 6 birds are white geese, which is sometimes translated as white swans or sometimes referred to as white cranes in Japan. Peacocks, parrots, saris, which we know more commonly as a myna bird, kalavinkas, and jivam jivikas, which are also called the gumyo bird in Japanese. So those first 4 are real birds that actually exist in this world. I mean, we can see them, whether it's at a zoo or some other place that sometimes out in the wild, depending on which bird you're looking for. And the last 2 are mythical birds that are mentioned in various sutras and stories. As I said, the smaller sutra tells us that 6 times a day, all of these birds sing in elegant harmony, and their sounds proclaiming such teachings as the Eightfold Noble Path. So they're teaching us about a path right there in what they're singing. And when the people of the Pure Land hear these birds singing, they all become then mindful of the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. And since we're discussing these signs and symbols today, or I'm trying to, let's look at the symbolism behind these 6 different birds that reside in the Pure Land. First up is the white swan or goose or crane. Not that swans and geese and cranes are the same birds, but they have in common their grace and beauty and elegance. And so I can understand the sutra translators using the large white bird, which they were most familiar with, perhaps. And these birds are also considered to be good omen and are known for their long lives. Then we have peacocks, and they're seen as beautiful birds that spread their tails sort of like an ornamental fan. But the notable tail feathers are not the only attribute that gains the peacock entry into the Pure Land. In fact, myth says that the peacock got its beautiful tail feathers thanks to the bird's ability to ingest and neutralize poisons found in snakes. So the myth tells us that the peacock starts off as kind of a drab, ordinary bird, going about its business, hunting for food and looking for shelter. And then one day, the peacock encounters a lair of many deadly snakes. But just before the snakes rise up to strike and kill the peacock, they're quickly gobbled down by the bird. In this way, the peacock avoids the venomous bites and instead ingests the snakes, poison and all. Amazingly, as the peacock digests the poison, it begins to shake and tremble in its efforts to cope with that dangerous stuff. And when the process is finished, legend says the peacock's original dull feathers have been transformed into those glorious, colorful plumage, and the bird is healthier and more robust and beautiful than ever before. So this is the peacock we know today. In Buddhist stories, this ability to neutralize poison is embodied in the Bodhisattva Mahamaruri, and is known as the great peacock spirit. And this bodhisattva has the ability to neutralize the three poisons of greed, anger, and stupidity, just as the peacock neutralizes the poisons of snakes. So by eating these poisons, the peacock bodhisattva frees us of our greedy, angry, and self-centered mind so that we're able to reach awakening. So the peacock is included in the Pure Land because of both its plumage and its ability to neutralize poisons for us. Now, the next two birds are the parrot and the sari, or the myna bird, and they're known for being able to imitate human voices. Have you ever heard the phrase, "Polly want a cracker?" Maybe in a cartoon or something like that. Anyways, it's because of the uncommon ability that the parrot and the myna have that they dwell in the Pure Land. And they sing the Buddha Dharma. And the parrot and myna are also found in various sutras, as they possess that ability to recite the Nembutsu and chant phrases from the sutras. Jataka and other Buddhist tales often portray the parrot as a noble bird who often appears as an incarnation of Shakyamuni Buddha doing various good deeds. Both the parrot and the myna are included in the Pure Land as wise birds who can preach the Dharma by using human language. So as I mentioned, these first four birds are real, of course. They exist in our world. But the remaining two birds in the Anaijin exist only in legend. So the fifth bird and the first mythical bird is the Kalavinka. In one sutra, the clear and beautiful voice of the Buddha, which is said to have the ability to make our minds peaceful just by its tone, is compared to the Kalavinka's singing. And what's known as the Great Wisdom Discourse Sutra tells us that with its beautiful voice, the Kalavinka sang in the egg before it was even born. Can you imagine singing before you were even born? That's pretty special. So its voice is superior to that of all other birds. And just like the Buddha's voice, the Kalavinka graces the Pure Land as it sings the teachings in an eloquent voice that nobody ever tires of hearing. Unlike my voice, which I can't believe you're still listening to. But this brings us to the sixth and final bird of the Pure Land, the Jivam Jivaka, or the Gumyo bird. In the sutras, it's depicted as a rare bird with two human heads that share a common body. And there's a Buddhist tale about the Gumyo bird, which I'll share in order to explain some reasons for its inclusion in the Pure Land. So eons ago, there were many beautiful Gumyo birds. And there was one in particular with an exceptionally beautiful shape and song. And its two heads boasted about themselves, tweeting things like, and I don't mean on social media, "The feathers on my head are the loveliest and my voice is the most beautiful." And each head despised the other one, and they quarreled endlessly. Then one day, one head happened to think, if the other head were to die, I would truly be the best in the world. So the next day, this head made the other head eat fruit, which it had secretly poisoned. So, of course, the head that ate the poisoned fruit died soon afterward, and so the head that survived finally did become the most beautiful bird in the world. At that moment, the bird started flying while singing proudly. But its joy was kind of short-lived. The head that died gradually rotted, And eventually even the body they had in common was rotting as well. So the remaining Gumyo bird's head lost its life too. Of course, with two heads on a common body, if one dies, the other one's going to end up dying as well. So I'm sure some of you are saying, but wait, that bird makes a terrible role model. That's an awful symbol. Why would Amida Buddha include that bird in the Pure Land? Well, as we all know, bad news, not good, is what gets the most attention and receives the most likes on social media. So, although the story is about one evil Gumyo head, there were so many more who lived in harmony with the other head on their body. So the story about the Jivam Jivaka, or Gumyo bird, is obviously one of interdependence. We like to think about our own uniqueness that makes each of us the us we see. And we don't have two heads sharing one body, although that could be a good Halloween costume for this year's Dharma School Halloween party. We're undeniably intertwined with other beings. We can't live our lives all on our own. In fact, we couldn't even be born if it wasn't for others. We live, exist, we are us because of the efforts and sacrifices of so many other beings. We receive the support of our family and friends, teachers, Sangha members, strangers, countless others, just so we can live. And we might not share the same body like the Gumyo does, but our lives depend on these others just as both heads of the bird depend on each other. But just like the first Gumyo head that poisoned the second one, when we declare ourselves superior and deny the truth that we're not only linked but completely dependent on countless others, if we poison others with our thoughts and our words and our actions, it's really the same as poisoning ourselves. So the Jivam Jivaka, or Gumyo bird, is included with the other 5 types of birds in the Pure Land, not only for its beautiful singing voice that sings the Dharma, but also as a symbol and reminder of that truth of interdependence. So now you kind of know why Amida Buddha chose these 6 birds, the white swans, the peacocks, the parrots, the mynas, the kalavinkas, and the gumyos, to reside in the Pure Land. And as the smaller sutra tells us, these various birds are manifested by Amida Buddha so that their singing can proclaim and spread the Dharma. And the birds that adorn our onaijin are just symbols of their qualities and the teachings which they embody. So these birds are signs, and the qualities they symbolize are depicted here to help guide us along our paths. These birds serve as kind of reminders of the 3 treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So maybe the next time you see a bird or hear a bird singing, you'll be just reminded about the 3 treasures in your life. So please join me again in Gasho. In the land of perfect bliss, there are always many kinds of wondrously rare, beautiful birds of various colors, such as white swans, peacocks, parrots, mynas, kalavinkas, and jivam jivakas. 6 times a day, all of these birds melodiously sing in elegant harmony, their sounds proclaiming the teachings. And when the people of that land hear the birds singing, they become mindful of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty, for your Dharma message. Please stand for the Gatha Namo Amida Butsu on page 122 of the Blue Service Book. Please sing along if desired.
Thank you, Cassidy. This is Bill for Buddhist Education, and we received some beautiful BDK calendars before the end of the year, and they got put in a place where we couldn't find them. But they are available now. It's a perpetual calendar by month, so you start at the first of the month and go through. The second of the month has a picture. I mean, every page has a picture and a nice Buddhist saying in English and then also in Japanese. And for February 2nd, the second of the month, it actually has a picture of the statue going like this. It's a very funny-looking guy holding his hand up. The message is to encourage us to hear the Dharma. Anyway, these are free for you. And it's a nice way to have a pretty picture and a Buddhist thought each day of the year. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Nice to see all of you here today. Speaking of calendars, we have some calendars in the back. It's from the Buddhist Churches of America 2025 calendar. If you don't have one, you're welcome to pick one up. It's in the back of the Hondo. And also we have magnet calendars that you can put up on your refrigerators. And it's of all the activities for the temple for 2025. So please pick one up today. Pick up a few. You're welcome to do so. And then next Sunday, if those of you who are interested in football, it's the Super Bowl. And so we're going to have our third annual Super Bowl watch party here at the temple. The game's at 3:30, but if you'd like to join us, just to come hang out and watch the game and, watch the game on the temple big screen. We're going to do it in the dining room, and if you'd like to bring some snacks or whatever, you could do so, and have fun for a few hours. So that'll be next Sunday, starting at 3 o'clock. Okay, thank you.
The 9th through 12th grade class would like to thank the following individuals for conducting today's Dharma School portion of today's service. Reverend Hokai Smitty Smith for officiating, CMA Arturo Rubio Noriko Kawai for assisting, CMA Yukari Williams and Arturo Rubio and Noriko Kawai for setting up the onaijin, CMA Arturo Rubio for ringing the kansho, Mr. Robert for playing the guitar, and Reverend Honda, Bill Teague, Ricky Cheeks, and Ken Muraoka for their technical support and live streaming of today's service. And thank you to my junior YBA for chairing today. I know we're all really tired. And thank you to the Sangha for attending today's service. For those staying for the adult portion of the service, Kaytee Sumida will continue the chairing of the adult service. And there will also be a Japanese Dharma message by Chaplain Noriko Kawai after the adult service. Okay, at this time, Dharma School students are invited to do oshoko and be excused for their respective classes. Thank you.
Also, happy Groundhog Day, everybody. And happy Setsubon, too. The adult portion will start with the Vandana and Tisarana, which can be found on page 96, led by Reverend Smitty, but I believe she wants all to start with her.
Yes, Katie's correct. I'd like everybody to chant along with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kye Butsu. Namo Kye Ho. Namo Kye So. Namandab, 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 namandab.
And now Smitty Sensei will present an adult Dharma message.
Please join me in Gasho as we hear the words of Shinran Shonin from The Lamp for the Latter Ages, letter number 20. Formerly, you were drunk with the wine of ignorance and had a liking for only the three poisons of greed, anger, and folly. But since you have begun to hear the Buddha's vow, you have gradually awakened from the drunkenness of ignorance, gradually rejected the three poisons, and come to prefer at all times the medicine of Amida Buddha. In contrast, how lamentable that people who have not fully awakened from drunkenness are urged to more drunkenness, and those still in the grips of poison encouraged to take yet more poison. It is indeed sorrowful to give way to impulses with the excuse that one is by nature possessed of blind passions, excusing acts that should not be committed, words that should not be said, and thoughts that should not be harbored. and to say that one may follow one's desires in any way, whatever. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Well, good morning again. You know, it probably seems like I like to talk about the three poisons a lot. Maybe that's because I feel drawn to them so often. You know, I have to remind myself that in spite of Shinran Shonin's warnings about the three poisons, I imbibe in them far too often. So this Dharma talk is probably more for me than it is for you. But maybe if you listen to it as I admonish myself for indulging in greed and hatred or anger and ignorance, you'll be able to perhaps avoid the error of my ways and come to prefer at all times the medicine of Amida Buddha. So I was saddened when I heard about the loss of 67 lives in the tragic collision of an Army helicopter with an American Eagle airliner in the airspace above Reagan National Airport in DC. And I'm sure many of you were perhaps shocked and saddened too. For some, being here in San Diego, it might have evoked memories of PSA Flight 182 and its midair collision with a Cessna 172 over the San Diego neighborhood of North Park back in September of '78. For me, the scenario of a recent midair collision between a military helo and a passenger jet took my mind to the part of my life when I was a naval aviator flying helicopters in the nighttime airspace over San Diego. And during the 1990s, I was flying the H-46C night helicopter while stationed at NAS Norfolk in Virginia and NAS North Island here in San Diego. And I flew quite a few flights at night and eventually became an NVD or night vision device instructor pilot, accumulating over 350 hours using night vision goggles. So in San Diego, it was fairly routine for us to depart Naval Air Station North Island, round the tip of Point Loma, and head north up the coast to train in the coastal landing zones and the hilltop landing sites of the Camp Pendleton training area. And with San Diego's airport and its single runway sitting between North Island and Camp Pendleton, you either had to fly 5 miles or more westward out to sea before heading north, or you had to take the more practical and sometimes more congested route of flying at 300 feet or below at a distance of at least a half mile from the beaches as you transited the airspace and extended center line of San Diego International. And there are certain landmarks that you used to report your location via radio and request to transit the airspace that was controlled by San Diego Tower, getting permission before entering and reporting again when you were clear of their airspace. And the controllers could see your helo on their radar scopes, so you couldn't just bust through the airspace without permission or without talking to anybody, unless you wanted to risk the chance of getting a flight violation and potentially losing your wings, which is kind of the military equivalent of a pilot's license. But by this time in my naval career, I had amassed about 4,000 total flight hours and often flew this route along the beach while conducting training or evaluation flights at night. So you see, when I heard about this mishap, I could very easily identify with the crew in the Army Black Hawk that was involved in the mid-air collision over the Potomac River the other night. And I also spent what seemed like a lifetime working with air traffic controllers and knew firsthand their diligence and professionalism. So what does this have to do with the three poisons? Well, the morning after the DCA mishap, I was watching the news and listening to the evolving information and facts that were slowly being pieced together by reporters. And I continued watching as the White House press conference began, and President Trump gave a synopsis of the tragedy and then went into an assessment of the causes of the mid-air collision. But to me, at that point, it wasn't an informed account. It kind of turned into this angry diatribe about the Obama and Biden administrations and it was filled with allegations that the FAA's and military's diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI goals that were put in place under those administrations were what was to blame for the crash. Instead of what I thought should have been consoling or comforting those who lost loved ones during this tragedy, President Trump and his Secretaries of Defense and Transportation were kind of publicly declaring their hatred toward these political opponents that they have defeated this past election, and expressed their disdain toward the principles of diversity and inclusion, and were blaming the deadly crash on people with disabilities and minorities and women and an incompetent Army air crew. So what did I do? Well, I got mad. I was angry about the lack of sympathy for those who were in shock and in mourning. And I was angry that a press conference, which should be used to bring people together in this time of tragedy for our nation, was instead used to rant about things like DEI, that there's sometimes a term that's used to label anything that someone might hate or object to. And I felt myself sort of angering at the ignorance that was displayed in this statement that the FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative that was spelled out on the agency's website. And when asked by reporters how he was certain that this aviation mishap was caused by these DEI initiatives, President Trump declared it was because I have common sense. And I realized I was stewing, I grew angrier, and I felt ever-increasing hatred toward the remarks that were being made during this press conference. And I changed the channel and reflected on what I had just done and felt. While falsely believing that I, a Jodo Shinshu minister, have awakened from the drunkenness of ignorance and gradually have rejected the three poisons, coming to prefer at all times the medicine of Amida Buddha, I haven't behaved that way at all. My ignorance was fully on display, except that it was just me in my living room, so none of you could see it at the time. I could pick out the three poisons as they influenced those who I observed on the televised press conference, but I couldn't see my own indulgence in the same poisons. In fact, I fed on those poisons as those giving the press conference did the same. I was judgmental and self-centered and discriminating. I exhibited no greater compassion or empathy than those I was accusing of lacking those same qualities. I was in the grips of poison and was clearly taking yet more poison. So, what do we do when we're in that situation? Just give in to greed and anger and ignorance and keep feeding it and fueling it? I mean, we're only human after all. We're not Buddhas, or at least I'm not. Maybe you are, I don't know. I'm certainly not the embodiment of wisdom and compassion. If I was, I wouldn't behave or think the way I do. Apparently, I don't even comprehend the principle of interdependence, or I wouldn't consider myself so very separate from others. I mean, I just told the kids about the gumyo bird with the two heads. And at that time, when I was thinking about these press conferences, I wasn't taking that to heart myself. Interdependence teaches us that hate or anger toward another is as absurd as hating your own left ear or being angry at your kidneys. Episodes like this make me realize that I certainly do have a deluded mind. It makes me understand Shinran Shonin's frequent use of the term bonbu, which we might interpret as a foolish or just ordinary being, someone who's not yet a Buddha. And all we can do is turn to the teachings instead of turning to more of the three poisons. All we can do is recognize our faults, our human condition, and be grateful for having encountered Amida Buddha, the antidote to the poisons that we've taken that liking to. You know, I'm not capable of overcoming my flaws and my faults or saving myself from sinking in this immense ocean of desires and delusions. All I can do is say Namo Amida Butsu and try once again to turn away from these poisons and recognize that light and life that embraces and sustains us all in those moments and always. So please join me again in Gasho. Formerly, you were drunk with the wine of ignorance and had a liking only for the three poisons of greed, anger, and folly. But since you have begun to hear the Buddha's vow, you have gradually awakened from the drunkenness of ignorance, gradually rejected the three poisons, and come to prefer at all times the medicine that is Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, 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 Namandab.
Can everybody now please rise for the Gatha Ondoksan on page 128? Please be seated for music meditation. May the merit virtue that we've obtained today be shared equally with all beings. May we together awaken the Bodhi mind and be born in the realm of serenity and joy. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. You are all welcome to offer incense, and Japanese speakers or people who want to practice listening, please stay for Noriko Sensei's Japanese Dharma message. And everybody else, there is hospitality in the dining room downstairs. That concludes today's service.
Do you want yours? No, no, that's okay. Everything. Ah.それでは始めますね。はい。では合唱をお願いいたします。光明はあまねく十方世界を照らし、念仏の主情を摂取して捨てたまわず。ナマミダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ。 おはようございます。皆さんお元気でいらっしゃいますか？お久しぶりの方もいらっしゃって大変嬉しく思います。今ご紹介させていただいたのは仏説漢無量寿経というお経の中に出てくる言葉です。漢無量寿経は浄土三部経といって浄土真宗では非常に重要とされている3つのお経のうちの1つになります。あと2つご存知ですか？あと2つは、仏説無量寿経と仏説阿弥陀経になります。光明はあまねく十方世界を照らし、念仏の衆生を摂取して捨てたまわず。ちょっと古い日本語だから難しいですよね。現代語にしたものは、光明は広くすべての世界を照らして仏仏ですね、仏を念じる人々を残らずその中に、ちょっと下に行き過ぎました、その中に収め取りお捨てになることがないのである。光明は広くすべての世界を照らして仏を念じる人々を残らずその中に収め取りお捨てになることがないのであるという意味になります。光明というのは阿弥陀様の光明のことです。阿弥陀様の光明はすべての世界を照らしてくださるので、それに漏れる者は一人もいないということです。そして念仏の衆生、南無阿弥陀仏の南無阿弥陀仏の皆を唱える信心を持っている者は阿弥陀様の本願に誓われた対象となるので、摂取不捨のご利益を得るとのことです。摂取不捨、わかりますかね？必ず摂取のを取るっていう、つかみ取る。でもつかみ取ってもう見捨てることはないということですね。だから阿弥陀様のお慈悲というのはもうみんなをもうこういう感じ、もう私のイメージもこういう感じなんですけれども、英語で言うエンブレイスって感じですかね。してもう決して捨てることがないということです。この説明でお分かりいただけましたでしょうかね。皆さんにとって阿弥陀様というのはどういう存在でしょうか。また阿弥陀様とは何でしょうか。先週 MA のミーティングがミニスターズアシスタントのミーティングがあったのですが、その時にスミティ先生が私たち MA にこの質問をされました。What is 阿弥陀ブッダ？阿弥陀ブッダって何ですか？あなたにとってどういう存在ですか？簡単なようですごく難しい質問だなと思いました。皆さんいかがですか？あんまりここででも今さっきスミティ先生もされましたけど、私にとってこういうことですっていうのを何か終わりだったら難しいですよね。日本で生まれ育った方だったら、多分お家にお仏壇とか終わりだったらだいたい阿弥陀様って中にいらっしゃるので、あれが阿弥陀さんでしょって思われるかもしれないけど、だからってその阿弥陀さんって何なの、何をする人なのってなかなか考えることもないかもしれないなと思うんですけれども、お寺にいらっしゃってる方だったら考えたことが終わりかもしれないなと思います。でそのミーティングの時にもいろんな答えが出ました。先ほどもスミリー先生おっしゃいましたけれども、 Wisdom and Compassion ってよく言いますね。だから知恵と慈悲、私たちをさっき言ったみたいに包み込んでくださる存在、唯一のものであって同時に全てのものである存在。どれもなんかすごく抽象的でね、分かったような分からないような感じかなとは思います。私自身阿弥陀様を思うときに、阿弥陀様のお像の前に阿弥陀様のお像が少し前に傾き 傾かれているお姿をいつも思い出します。このお寺のもう一つ下の階のオフィスの前にこれぐらいまあまあ大きいですかね、阿弥陀様のお像があるんですけれども、横からそのお姿を見ると前に少し傾いてらっしゃるのがよくわかります。でこれはなぜかというと、阿弥陀様はいつでも私たちを救うためにもう動き出す、前に進むご用意ができているお姿であるからということだそうです。でまた浄土真宗の阿弥陀様のお像というのは座ってらっしゃるお像がないということです。で全て、ひょっとして全てじゃないかもしれないですね。でも大体が立ってらっしゃるお姿で、それも同じ理由ですね。座ってらっしゃったら立ち上がって私たちのとこにいらっしゃるのに時間かかってしまうので、もうすでに立っていらっしゃるお姿で前に傾いてらっしゃって、いつでも私たちのために来てくださるということです。これも何度かお話ししたことがあると思うのですが、京都に善林寺というお寺がありまして、そこには見返り阿弥陀像というお像がいらっしゃるそうです。でこのお像について仏教に思うという本にこう書かれてあります。自分より遅れるものを待つ姿勢、自分自身の位置を顧みる姿勢、愛や情けをかける姿勢、思いやり深く周囲を見つめる姿勢、主情とともに正しく前に進むためのリーダーの把握の振り向き、真正面からおびただしい人々の心を濃く受け取っても、なお正面に回れない人たちのことを案じて横を見返らずにはいられない阿弥陀仏の御心、動きのあるお姿の中でも特に見返りに意味の深い姿であるということだそうです。見返りだから、阿弥陀様のお像って大体前向いて、もうほとんどが前向いてらっしゃるんですけれども、このお像に関しては後ろを振り返ってらっしゃるわけですね。というのは、私たちが後ろにいて遅れてないかっていうのを常に、一緒に来てますかっていうのを常に気にかけてくださってるっていうことです。阿弥陀様のお慈悲を大慈悲と言いますが、その大悲ですね。大悲は私たちは見たり感じたりすることは簡単でないかもしれません。これも前にお話ししたことがありますが、原田先生の前の総長でいらっしゃる梅津先生は阿弥陀様のお慈悲をこのように説明されました。You can't touch the sun, but the sun is touching you. 私たちが太陽を触ることはできない。でも太陽は私たちを触っているということです。私からは阿弥陀様は見えないし、感じることもできないかもしれない。でも阿弥陀様からは私が見えているし、感じられているだろうし、そのお慈悲をお受けできる対象となっている。私が認識しようがしまいが、すでに救われることが決まっていて、その時が来ればお浄土に生まれさせていただけることが決まっているんです。そう思うと、なんてありがたいことだなと思います。すごくほっとするし、ありがとうございます、南無阿弥陀仏、南無阿弥陀仏と、そんな時は自然と口から阿弥陀様のお名前が出てくる、そんな感じですね。だからいつもそういうふうに振り返ってみてくださってる。で、私たちがひょっとしてもう凡夫すぎて感じたり見たりできないけれども、阿弥陀様からはもう太陽のようにいつも照らしてくださってるということですね。皆さんはどう感じられますか？また教えてください。阿弥陀様とは何か、私にとってどういう存在か、私は阿弥陀様のお慈悲をいつどんな時に感じるのか、はたまた感じることができているのか、こういった問いは浄土真宗のお寺にお参りする私たちにはとても基本的な問いではありますが、時々考えてみるのもいいのではないかなと思いました。 こういう問いについて考えることによって自分の理解や信心が深まっていくのではないかなと思います。本日はお話をお聞きいただきありがとうございました。それでは合唱をしてお話を終わりとさせていただきます。合唱。ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ、ナマンダブツ。ありがとうございました。